So if I were to like keep going this way,
so it's
towards
you know where
the
the
10?
you know where the police station is
Yes.
right there? It's right across the street. It's that parking structure.
Got it.
But the way you access it's kind of weird. You got to kind of walk through that alleyway and then pull in there. But if you ever park there for
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. I actually live close enough. I should walk. I was like, oh my god, I can't.
Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
No one wants to see you. Why are you not moving me here?
I'm rocking too much.
Oh,
You can let her in.
Now that you're dropping hints, maybe next time we'll do that.
Is there any vending machine?
There's one. No, I don't think so. Need water?
Okay, thank you.
No. Yes.
Are we good on the Hatchnix.
Testing, testing. Testing, testing. Test. Test. All right, we're going to get started. All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. I am convening the May Disabilities Commission meeting. It's a regular meeting. Let me just read the mission statement. The Disabilities Commission helps improve the quality of life for people with disabilities in Santa Monica by prioritizing issues of concern and advising the City Council and city staff on those issues. The Commission recommends ways to maximize participation of people with disabilities in all facets of city life and increase awareness of the abilities, rights, and issues of people with disabilities throughout the community. I'm going to start by taking a roll call of all our commissioners. Commissioner Rockfelt.
Present.
Commissioner Clark.
Present.
Commissioner Cosmea Dodge. Commissioner Nguyen.
Commissioner Wynn is on the chat, but she's experiencing some audio difficulties right now.
Okay, she's here. Commissioner Azaria. Commissioner Gordon.
Here.
Commissioner Royale. Commissioner IDME is not present, and Chair Elliott is here. Thanks, everybody. We have quorum. Okay, I'm going to move on to item 1 on our agenda, public input, non-agenda items. We have one written, but do we have any public comments?
None submitted so far.
Not seeing any. So I just want to point the public and everyone watching this that there is a public comment. It's posted on our agenda and on the website. It's feedback on following the Commission's March review of the PHA plan, disability-related housing access, and continuum of care participation. This commenter appreciates that we brought it up, but shares some concerns about the process. I encourage city staff and the community to read this, particularly some concerns they have are highlighted on the 3rd page in bullet point format about the process, and also just sharing, wanting to make sure issues related to housing and disability are addressed. So please, when you get a chance, review this public comment, and I just want to make sure it's on the record. Thank you. Now I'm going to move on to item 2, public input agenda items under special agenda and consent calendar only. Do we have any public? Nope.
We do not, no.
Okay, I'm going to keep it moving to 3A, our special agenda items. Mental Health Awareness Month, our special guest speaker. We have Britt Turpak from NAMI West LA. Thank you for being here.
This is my spot. Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me okay? Louder? No? Yes? Kind of? A little bit? All right. Yes, I can project. I just don't want to be too loud. How are we? Good. Thank you. Thank you for responding. I teach Pilates and yoga, and oftentimes when I ask that question, everybody just looks at me. So I appreciate when I get a response. Again, my name is Britt. I am here with NAMI Westside Los Angeles, and hi to Thomas. Super excited. I recently joined the board at Virginia Avenue Park and excited to share these mental health resources with all of you. So for those that don't know, NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness. We're the nation's largest mental health organization, grassroots organization, providing free education and resources both to people who live with mental health conditions, but also their loved ones as well. That's kind of like the main thing that sets NAMI apart. It's just a little arrow. There's over 600 affiliates across the country, and I'm here as a representative of Westside LA, which services the Santa Monica area. Just for a little context, it is set up like our government system. So NAMI National focuses a lot on policy, is that me? Policy and a lot of our curriculums. NAMI at the state level, which kind of does a little bit of both community and national work, and then, like I said, over 600 affiliates. We offer a lot of programs and resources. So first and foremost, everybody affiliated with NAMI is coming to the conversation, the mental health conversation, from a peer perspective. So all of our research and facts and all of those good things, yes, is backed by medical professionals, but the people doing the work on the front lines, we're not medical professionals, but the majority of us do have a lived experience. So for me, I live with anxiety and depression. In our peer lane, we have our peer-to-peer classes, which is an 8-week personal development program. That's the way I like to look at it. Even if you don't live with a mental health condition, it is a great resource just to support your overall mental health and well-being. And then we also offer weekly ongoing support groups. All of these programs are virtual. We're trying to bring some back in person. Pre-COVID, they were all in person, but obviously, as you know, things shift and change. But it's actually nice because it allows people to participate even if they aren't physically here in Santa Monica. And again, even though we are servicing the West LA chapter, we do get a lot of people from other parts of the country as well. And then the other lane that I had mentioned before was the family lane. So if anybody, and I'm sure most of you do, know somebody impacted by mental illness, I like to say mental health conditions, or just general stress, overwhelm, and anxiety, you know, it doesn't just impact the individual, it does the whole family. It's a really whole family system unit. And so in that same lane where we have all of our peer programs, we have all of our family resources. So same thing, family to family class. It's an 8-week program. We also have our ongoing family peer support groups that you can just pop into at any time. And that is very, very popular at West LA. We also offer these programs in Spanish. I didn't want to forget that. I personally, going to Ending the Silence, that is my focus with NAMI West LA, is youth education. So Ending the Silence is a program that goes into local schools, primarily middle school and high school, to offer presentations and conversations on destigmatizing the mental health conversation. We have our monthly Janice Black Warner speaker series and a lot of QPR, question, persuade, response trainings that are available to any organization, company, you guys, whoever wants it, we offer it. And again, all of these are free. I have a background in the movement, wellness, fitness space, and so it's not listed here, but oftentimes I do offer a lot of yoga and mindfulness programming to students. But coming in to Virginia Avenue Park, one of the goals that I want to focus on and bring to the table and add to this list are more wellness resources for the community. Because, like I said, even if you don't live with mental health conditions, it's 2026. We all have these and we're all a little stressed. We're all a little stressed. You can just see our population-specific support groups. Yes, we have our older adult support groups. We have an LGBTQ peer support group. And I'm sure these will be listed somewhere where you can see all the dates and times. This is our phone number if you need it. And I forgot about this. We do have our programming at Resnick at UCLA. It's an adult peer group. It's happening Monday, Thursday, Saturdays. And again, all of this information is listed on our website. This is closed to the public, but has become a very popular resource for those who are at Resnick. Yeah, and I guess I'll just leave you with that, given that it is Mental Health Awareness Month. I want to thank you for having me here to talk about this, because even though it is 2026 and there's so many resources, at our fingertips, it's still a conversation that's incredibly stigmatized in a variety of ways. And so it's really these small moments. And one of the reasons I love local community activation so much, because I really do believe big change happens and starts on a small level. So thank you to all of you for having me here. Thank you. Oh, yeah, totally. Ask away. Ask me any questions. Sorry, I didn't know there was a Q&A.
So and thank you so much for being here and sharing this useful information. And can we post the slides on our agenda? Thank you. Is that okay?
Yep,
Perfect.
for sure.
So I have Rockfeld, Adiemi, Cosme Dodge, and then me. Commissioner Rockfeld?
Thank you for coming. So what is the primary method by which you're achieving your objectives? Is it setting up small groups where everyone's talking? I understand you go out to schools, but peer-to-peer, what does that mean for your organization?
So, great question. Thank you. Is it Rockfelt? Mr. Rockfelt? Mr. Rockfelt. So the peer-to-peer class, I am certified and I sometimes teach that. So that is an 8-week program. That's a weekly, I like to call it like a personal development class where participants can show up, they learn, they engage, whatever the theme is. Maybe it's mindfulness that week, maybe it's stress management tips. Again, peer information, like I'm trained in the program, but I'm not ever diagnosing or I'm sharing resources that have worked for me. The peer support, and then same thing for the family to family class. For the support groups, there is one individual who will host the support group. It's very similar to AA, the style of AA, where it's an internal private meeting. Things are not shared beyond that. There's a standard and list that they go over at the beginning of the meeting, and it's just an open forum if somebody is experiencing something that they personally want to share, or they can just show up and listen and not share. Did that answer your question? Yes. Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to welcome you to
Yes.
This meeting of the Disability Commission. We live by Virginia Avenue,
Yes.
By Pico. And this is where we go to do our evening exercises, throwing ball and things like that. And my little friend here goes to the Virginia Avenue Gymnastics.
Okay.
I don't know if you are familiar with that.
I'm not.
This is run by the PATH, the Police Activity League. So are you in any way familiar with PATH? And can somebody, like on an individual basis, come to your event?
Can anybody come to my event?
Yeah.
I don't have anything set up yet, but my goal is to bring programming to that space, which would be available to any community member, complimentary for free. Is that your question?
Yes.
Yes.
And when is this supposed to commence? Do you have any date in mind?
Not as of yet, but that is something that I will be working on with Thomas and can provide that when we do have stuff set up. In my mind, he doesn't even know this yet, so yeah, can I go?
So Britt was appointed last month and has yet to join her first meeting. So I believe June is going to be Britt's
Correct.
first meeting. So more programming to come.
But ideally, like, no, to the Virginia Avenue Park Board, but available to whomever. So, like, I would love to do a community. Maybe it would be like yoga and breathwork class, or a community breathwork activation and journaling something. I don't know what that looks like yet, but yes, it would be available to all ages and whoever would want to attend.
Okay, so we can keep in touch, Mr. Fielding.
Yes, absolutely.
When this is.
And like, if there's something specific that you would want, like, let's say you have something going on where you would be like, it would be great to have a NAMI presentation, or it would be great to have a yoga teacher. Like, that's what NAMI is for as well. Like, reach out. So if we can provide you with a teacher or a presentation or whatever it may be, we just want to get out into the community and share those resources.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question, really. Well, I thank you for coming. I'll join everybody else. It's really great. I didn't even know you existed.
Oh.
So it's wonderful to learn about it. My question is more, I was curious in the formation of what you offer. What I'm particularly interested in the mental health issue is including feelings with the concept of mental health and allowing feelings to have as much have as much value as what's wrong with you mentally. Your feelings as important as mentally. And I would like to know if there's any kind of movement in that direction to include feelings in the opportunities for people to come and get counseling. It's not mental health. It's just, they can just say, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling, and that's all. I just sort of want to know if that was included.
Yes, that's a great point. And so I'm speaking as a mental health advocate from my own experience, and given my background, I wholeheartedly believe that the mind, body, soul connection is all interconnected as one, and one is not separate from the other. And I think that's why I personally love NAMI so much. So in regards to that, that would be something that would be so appropriate for the peer-to-peer support groups. Because even if you had feelings that maybe you couldn't identify, but you just needed to show up to a space that was a safe space, or maybe you did have feelings that you could identify and you wanted to just share them, that's where the support groups are really helpful. They're just an open forum for whatever it is that you're experiencing.
Well, that's really good. I have to read. I'm hard of hearing, so I have
that's
to
okay.
read what you said.
Yes.
That's really good, but I particularly, I have a thing about it, that I put feelings in the same level as mental health, as the same level as you have a heart attack, you have a liver problem, whatever. The same severity and the same influence. They're only now teaching doctors to value our feelings. So I don't want to make feelings less important than mental health or anything like that. I'd really like them to take on at least it's an option that they can take
No,
on.
I completely agree with you.
Even
Speaking,
if it's only languages, that's what they call it. You see it specifically because of the taboo against mental health.
totally, I agree.
I'm trying to make some way that young people and other people can accept. I come from a generation that mental health, forget it. And so I would like to find some kind of option, especially for young people, that can enter into that avenue of mental health via something that doesn't exactly have the stigma, like I'm all emotionally upset or I'm distressed emotionally, without saying I have a mental health issue.
Totally. I think that's where the peer part comes in. And then also even just personally, my work that I do, focusing more on the wellness aspect and the mindfulness aspect, because I think it touches on those things. And I agree with you. Personally, I think even physical conditions, when you're looking at metabolic diseases like cancer, really deep down are rooted, I have a more Eastern approach to that, are rooted in suppressed shame from childhood. I'm with you wholeheartedly. So know that there's a lot of people on the NAMI team that, yes, even though there is the mental health conversation, there's those exterior elements as well that play into that and support that.
Yeah.
Commissioner Clark?
Are the meetings wheelchair accessible? Do you know?
When we have them in person, they are wheelchair accessible. Great question. Right now, they're primarily virtual. We are bringing a few in-person ones back in the summer. I just don't have times, dates, and locations of those yet, but I can definitely let you know when those are solidified. But right now, I think we have 8 to 10 a week running that are all online.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. And what is a warm line? And then last thing is there any partnerships going on right now with Santa Monica with the great homeless issue that's going on, and how that there's mental health going on with the homeless issue that's going on with Santa Monica?
Great question. So first, the warm line. It is, again, offered in English and Spanish. It's to call for support. It's not in resources, support and resources. It's not available 24/7, I don't believe. I think it's working hours. Sometimes what happens is we'll get grants from the state that we will be able to connect with a 24/7 hotline, or get people on staff at certain times. We don't have that right now. But working hours, yes, you can call for resources or support. As far as the homeless issue, I think that's a really complex, layered question. And as far as NAMI goes, I think we just try to get out into the community in ways like this with tabling, providing resources. We show up at a lot of parks, a lot of libraries, just to share what we have available.
Is NAMI still going to the hospitals too?
Yes.
Okay. That's all I had.
Yep.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
I was wondering if, like for peer-to-peer virtual, is it like, I mean, how do they find out if the person needs more help?
That's another great question. We're not ever diagnosing. And of course, like, we'll step in if there is an emergency that requires that. I personally have never been in that position. But it's explicitly stated up front, like, this is not a place to go to for seeking like psychiatric help or, you know, like medical help. Like, this is a lived experience. There's other places where you can get those resources.
So you give them the list of places where.
We give them the list of hospitals, but we're not recommending therapists and we're not giving like names of therapists.
Thank you.
And then it'll be me and then Commissioner Gordon. Thanks so much for being here and being generous with your time and answering
of
our
course.
questions. I work for the Department of Mental Health, so I've collaborated with you guys on a number of times, so thank you for all the work you've been doing. And I'm just curious, when you talk about peer specialists, are you talking about like Medi-Cal peer support specialists with certification?
Yes, yes,
They
and
went through the,
correct.
okay.
In regards to this, they go through NAMI certification. It's different. Some of our peer members have gone through that. Others have not. Everybody working with and for NAMI have been certified under NAMI's own programming. So some yes, some no.
So there's a NAMI peer
Correct.
certification and then.
And that's where NAMI National comes in with the policymaking and the curriculum building. All of the trainings fall under national. So NAMI across the board, whether it's here, whether it's like state level, Florida, Pennsylvania, wherever, like small towns in Pennsylvania, like we're all getting trained under the same umbrella.
Got it. Thank you. Gordon?
Yeah, thank you so much. I might have missed it. I was just curious when your presentation. How long have you guys been around?
1979, I believe.
Wow.
Yes, so a long time. A lot of people don't know about NAMI.
Wow, and it started here in.
It started in Wisconsin, and it was started it started with moms at a dinner table who had family members who were experiencing mental health conditions. And so I think, you know, to kind of close this out and come full circle, like it is just really rooted in that, that family and that like peer-to-peer support of what can be done, because at the time they weren't receiving the support that they needed.
Yeah, so it's kind of like an Al-Anon or something.
Yes. I don't know actually if I can, that's why I was like, I don't know if I can like say that the support groups are similar to AA. I have been to Al-Anon meetings before personally. I am certified as a NAMI peer support specialist. I've led support groups. It feels very similar to me from my experience.
And then I guess the reason why you can't do that, they're still overhauling Virginia Park or something. I know it's under renovations or.
Like why we can't do it there at that location, I don't know. I don't know.
I think Thelma Terry's under some construction. I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yes,
for being
thank
here.
you. And, you know, again, if anybody needs anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thomas has my information, and we just want to provide you with any resource that we possibly can. But thank you for your time. Oh, yes.
Sorry, I just had one more question. You know, back to that Midwest connection. I know that in the Midwest there were some kind of mental health facilities, you were mentioning like a list of hospitals that you pass out. There was something like, they called it like the living room or something. It was like a step below like a psychiatric ER where you could go for like you could refer someone for like psychiatric immediate care without having to go to an ER. Does NAMI have a list or have like anything like that?
I don't know. Just so you know, my involvement with NAMI, like I've been involved with NAMI West LA, both at the national level and local level for 8+ years. So it's been a while. I'm not a full-time employee of NAMI. And so with like questions like that, because even though I am certified and I have led the peer support group, I only did that once. Like I wanted to focus on more of like the wellness aspect and like the youth education.
Right.
So I'm not the person going into hospitals, and I'm not the person working like one-on-one in those like peer support group areas to know that, but I can find that out for you.
Okay. I mean, maybe it's even on
I
the
just,
website.
no, it's fine. I just also know what I was told is that like no recommending. And I've just never been in a situation where I had to step in or had to take a further step.
Since you've been to both Al-Anon and NAMI meetings, are there any like kind of the like disabilities where you would say like one is better suited to the other, kind of like with addiction disabilities, maybe like AA or NA type meetings are better suited for that, like as opposed
Yes, and I think our society is really lonely as well, and that plays into addictive behavior, in my personal opinion. Like people are super disconnected, first from themselves and then from everybody else, and then they seek to numb through that. So yeah, Al-Anon's great, but I think that's where I don't want to call the NAMI peer support group like an emotional support group, but it is a really great supportive community. And so I think that impacts in a very positive way your mental health and well-being, which can impact maybe addictive behavior or whatever it is. So I think that doesn't really answer your question, but like I think they're both suited to that.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Any other questions?
No, just want to thank you. We look forward to future collaborations, and now that you're going to be part of Virginia Park,
Cool.
if you ever want to collaborate, reach out through Thomas, and thank you for the good work you're doing.
Yes,
And peer support is
absolutely.
key part of the behavioral health care continuum. So thank you for what you're
Yes.
doing and for coming. Anytime.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, I'm going to keep the agenda moving to item 3B, general update and Q&A with Blake Stavros, the ADA coordinator for Santa Monica. Thank you, Blake.
Hi, commissioners. Thank you for inviting me back. I have a couple of things to discuss with all of you. So I'm going to start with what I hope will be the least conversational, and then we'll get more into the grit of why I'm here. So I just wanted to give a couple of updates of some expanded accessibility throughout the city. So Douglas Park reopened last month. Douglas Park reopened last month. I was working with the design team on that to make a accessible playground using universal design principles. It's the newest playground added to the list of the multiple playgrounds that we have that are fully ADA accessible. It goes on the list of North Beach, South Beach, Marine, Ishihara, and Tonga. And now nearly half of our public playgrounds are fully accessible. And Virginia Avenue Park was mentioned a couple of times in that last presentation. The next playground that I have my eyes on is Virginia Avenue Playground, so hopefully updates will be coming soon. The 19th Street Community Garden project is nearing completion. I've also been working with our community garden team to add accessible features, including having a ADA accessible pathway throughout the entire garden that leads to both in-ground and above-ground planters. That should be opening this June, if I'm not mistaken. And then finally, the Annenberg Beach House. There are renovations happening there right now, and part of those renovations are going to be improving accessibility so that people can access all of the levels of that site. Next item I have is the website accessibility deadline. As you may or may not know, the deadline has been extended by a year. And in regard to that 1 year extension, this is a joint statement with ISD and myself. We're aware of the recent announcement, but we are continuing to move forward with our efforts as planned. Our approach has been to treat accessibility as a core service requirement rather than a one-time compliance milestone, and that direction has not changed. ISD already made meaningful progress in advancing this work. Our accessibility monitoring platform, Site Improve, has been implemented and the team is actively addressing and identifying issues. ISD and myself have met with our cross-department communications team to discuss all of the changes that are happening. In parallel, we are finalizing a contract for doc access to support scalable document remediation. We are also continuing efforts to mitigate legacy sites, including bigbluebus.com and smgov.net, into our primary CMS to ensure consistent standards and governance across city web content. Additionally, ISD has an active CIP request to support ongoing accessibility improvements. ISD appreciates the partnership and ongoing support of the Disabilities Commission. Next, I would like to discuss with you the questionnaire that Councilmember Royale sent over to me. I think the best way of going through this is just to go item by item. I'll give my response, and then if you have any questions per item, we can do that before I move on. So just to begin, I want a clarification that my role with the City of Santa Monica as the ADA coordinator is to ensure that the city maintains compliance with Title II of the ADA and Sections 503 and 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. Many of the questions that are on here are regarding residential buildings and not directly in my scope of work. And for all of the answers that I'm going to go through, I would also suggest speaking to somebody who specializes in housing accessibility. I'm going to mention that for a couple of the answers on here, just to cover myself and make sure people know that my specialty is not in housing. For the first question, what is the primary regulatory scope of the ADA and how does it differ from other accessibility laws in a residential context? So the ADA is split into 5 sections. Title I covers employment. Title II covers state and local government. Title III covers public accommodation and commercial facilities. Title IV covers telecommunication, and Title V covers miscellaneous provisions. The ADA generally does not regulate purely private residential housing in the same way it regulates public accommodation or government facilities. Residential accessibility is primarily governed by the Fair Housing Act, or the FHA. Are there any questions on that item? Okay. So, question number 2. Housing intersection. To what extent does the ADA regulate residential housing and which specific areas? For example, leasing offices, public walkways, units, garage, does it cover? The ADA may be applicable to places of public accommodation within multifamily residential buildings, such as leasing offices and publicly accessible parking. I also want to add that when it comes to the interior of units, The ADA does not cover that. Any questions on that answer? Okay. 3, ADA versus FEHA. Is it accurate to say that the ADA governs the design of residential buildings and garages while the FEHA handles tenants' rights? If not, how is the authority actually divided? My response, not actually, or not exactly. This is an area. Oh, yes.
Does that cover ADA parking spots for the handicap in just regular buildings?
You mean like
if there's not if somebody lives in a residential building and there's nowhere near enough parking spaces for handicap, does that regulate that? Do you regulate?
It will depend on the circumstances. I think one of the future questions I go into it with a little bit more detail. Yeah. So my response to that question, not exactly. This is an area that I would typically defer to someone more familiar with the FHA, but the ADA may cover the path of travel to get between the street, your parking space, and your unit. However, to say that the ADA covers the entire building would be inaccurate. The inside of your unit and amenities provided would be covered by the FHA. The places where the ADA would be applicable would be covered under Title III, which is the public accommodations and commercial facilities. Any questions on that? Okay.
I do have a question just on which title of the ADA applies if the building receives federal funding. Does Title II then apply?
I'll go over that in a later question, but Title II wouldn't necessarily be applicable. It would be the Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act.
Let's clarify.
Yes.
Question number 3. When I asked that question, I kind of intended you to explain the difference between apartment building and business building, or for example, like mall. So in that settings of the apartment building, I'm talking right now specifically about multifamily building. Mm-hmm. What ADA regulate? So my understanding that in that specific settings, like apartment, we're talking about apartment building, not the business buildings. So ADA can regulate access to parking, where accessible parking should be located, how it's supposed to be marked, and that's it. Also, ADA rules regulate unit, which belongs to people with disability, and commanding landlord to install like extra features, right, to accommodate. I mean, not everything. So, but
that will
accessibility of a unit.
Yeah, that will depend on a couple of things. So one of the main things is for a private landlord, if the building is an older building where it was built up to the codes of the time that it was built, then that building would be grandfathered in.
Also, let's emphasize that the buildings, they are different as well.
Correct.
Affordable housing or just like market housing. So it's like when we're talking about affordable housing, I just like everybody to hear that there is hierarchy of governing authority.
Correct.
If any sort of housing project, affordable, below market, or anybody received federal funding and grants, hierarchy of law to apply rules will be federal law and regulation, state law and regulation, municipal code of city, and then private contract.
Yes. And I think one important caveat of that is that regardless of the hierarchy, if one law is a little bit stricter in an area,
Right.
that is the preceding law. So
Right.
even if the state or the local law is more stringent than the federal law, you have to
Exactly.
follow the state or local.
When you kind of like assisting residents, people, and say, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, let's continue probably.
Okay, thank you. So for question number 4, ADA unit thresholds. At what point is a residential project legally required to include ADA units as opposed to FHA compliant units? So my response to this was, first of all, to clarify, by ADA units, a more accurate term would be to call them accessible units. I'm just going to be referring to it as accessible units from here on out, just because that is how the code refers to them. Accessible units are only required because of commercial facilities such as hotels or dormitories or government housing projects. Any questions on that? Okay. Yes.
I would like to ask you to explain a little bit deeper. So, like, I hear lots of people just like mistaking the definition. They kind of like some people calling, for example, ADA unit, some calling handicap unit. So there's like a unit kind of like for disabled people, et cetera. So same with parking.
Yes.
They saying like accessible, they saying handicap, and they saying ADA parking. So we have to kind of like explain what is difference and what is similarity for people stop mistaking that. Because, for example, if somebody making some sort of request and mention like the person with disability need accessible parking, so landlord at that point will be lost because they not understand what the request is. They mistaken that accessible parking. So, and they not understand what the person asking, double parking, like parking somewhere at the end of the garage. We have to kind of like be specific. So, and here is like, you said that like ADA units, it's not actually residential unit in a regular building, right? That term. It's like ADA, it's like more like, hotel.
Yeah, well, accessible unit
Right.
would be what you would call something that if you were to book a hotel room, you would book an accessible unit. If you were to get government housing, and you would request an accessible unit in that case.
Yeah. Thank you.
Any more questions before I move on? Yes?
Thank you for coming. My question is, when the ADA was enacted, there are some buildings, including multi-family units, that were not compliant with the ADA. So, but those that were compliant, or those that are not compliant, are they grandfathered in, or are they expected to make amendment to the passageway, for instance, for somebody who is in a wheelchair? What is the level of grading that they have to comply with? So
that is dependent on either when the building was constructed, and if it was constructed according to the code of the time, then that is a grandfathered in building. However, if there was an older building, say from the 1980s, that did a remodel in 2010, the code at the time of the 2010 would be the standard that it would have to match. Yeah. So if you are living in a building from the 1970s that hasn't done any major remodels, that building may not be accessible by the means that we think of accessibility today.
Exactly. So, for instance, buildings that were constructed, say, in 1960, so, are they grandfathered in to not make amendment to the ADA regulations?
Yes, until there are modifications made to the building that go through code enforcement, then at that point, that will trigger an ADA update. But even that there are limitations to that. There are cost thresholds that may prohibit it to be fully accessible. So all of these things, there's exceptions to basically every rule that I'm going to say. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I was wondering if there was if you had a central agency within the ADA, if for someone who wanted information. I found it very confusing when I asked the question about the parking, specifically because my friend who is missing her left leg could not get close enough to the there was no parking for her. But when I gave her the numbers to ask, they couldn't help her at all. They said it was a private building and there was nothing she could do, and I had no information for her. So what I'd like to know, is there any place other than that? I mean, if they can't help someone like my friend who needed, she had missing her whole leg up to her hip, and she couldn't get help. So is there anywhere they can go to get other help if they're refused, is what I'd like to know.
That's where sort of my information kind of stops. I know that the ADA, the DOJ through the ADA channels would not be the appropriate channel for that. Something along the lines of Fair Housing Act, which is where I am going to plead my ignorance, might be more useful. And I do know the DOJ and the HUD cover the FHA. Yeah.
I think what I'm also hearing is just more available information in plain language about this kind of stuff available for the community. So one thing I've brought up for years in writing, like our 311 Santa Monica app, if I were to search a keyword related to a disability ADA need, 0 results. And I've put this in writing, so like that could be an example. Maybe in the 311 app, it says, I have this issue. You need to get technical assistance from the ADA coordinator or the right person in your shop, to a phone number, email, a click. There's a disconnect. It's hard to access that kind of information. And that's something we can do, is make that information more accessible. I know there's the ADA Pacific Center, which provides technical assistance on ADA issues, but it's broad. It's like ADA in general. But I think our community needs that ADA in plain language, contextual to Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And that's a gap, and we've brought it up for before your tenure. So an outlet is our website being more organized. And when you put in a keyword, disability housing, get your search engine optimizing team to bring up what we need. And our app is just where we don't exist on the app. And
Yes.
that's something we need to do.
So thank you for bringing that up. That is actually something that I have been working with the 311 team and ISD on, because currently I don't have access to the direct 311 channels. If somebody mentions accessibility through any of the other options, I just get an email from that person that it got assigned to, and I kind of write up the response for them. So we're in the process of getting it to where the ADA coordinator will have a more direct line, and that way, hopefully that will prevent some levels of confusion.
Yeah, just so if they have an issue, it gets triaged to you to triage, or you might have a quick answer, or you might say, hey, I need to research this, or let me get you to the right person. That's not happening. It's just they can't find who to contact, and we want to just get it to the triage, get it to you, get a response, close the loop. Just if we can do that, it would save me a lot of emails I get from the community.
Yeah.
And it's something that we brought it up a lot. Commissioner Royale?
Let me say something. I created those questions, and I'm appreciate Blake was able to give some answer on that for the reason because I see how unfair to disabled people the city operates in a matter of housing and parking for disabled people and navigate through apartment buildings for the disabled people. To reply to Kasmia Dodge, I'm familiar with that situation. I know exactly what landlords through all city doing. They placing disabled people who have missing legs, hands, or have difficulty to physically move around. They placing them on a parking spots, which is like hard to access without wheelchair. Some people who is using wheelchair, they just like not able to access their parking. And when people start complaining to their landlords denying everything and they don't want to accommodate. They completely forgot that if they're receiving federal funds, grants, money, they must comply with federal rules and regulation. On top of just basically understand the request disabled people making. So that's why, and if you remember, some of you probably remember, before I became commissioner, I already filed with Disability Commission complaint regarding landlord well known in Santa Monica City. So it's like, we're talking about that issue for 6 years at least. City not accommodate. Often city sides with landlords and people with disability basically struggling. And that's why I brought all those questions and I'm trying to just find out what is going on and how we can fix it. And I'm asking every one of you, please pay attention and ask your questions if something not clear, because we have to change the situation. It's not only somebody's neighbor. It's going on through all city. I didn't see that situation in Los Angeles. I just noticed in that situation in Santa Monica. So, thank you.
Thank you. Okay. So to move on to
Question.
oh yes.
Is there any one organization of management of buildings exempt from the ADA provision for the disabled parking? Anyone exempt from it? And how mandatory or how can individual resident get access from the ADA to have this ADA parking space installed?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time?
Okay.
I'm trying to process.
Okay. So I guess my question is, I have, for instance, an example of a 70 units apartment complex without any ADA parking space. So what is the compliance on behalf of residents that the management of that building have to undertake?
That's a hard question for me to answer right here. All of these situations will have a lot of nuance in them. Just, on its face, a 17-unit apartment building that was built in the 60s that hasn't been updated. An apartment building like that, the landlord would have very little requirements to do any updates according to the ADA and the CBC. FHA might have different rules to that, but that's once again where I need to plead my ignorance and say that you need to contact a housing accessibility specialist.
Thank you.
Okay. So question number 5, affordable housing. Are all affordable housing units required to be fully ADA compliant? The answer to this is no. As I said, there's a lot of nuance in all of these things. So I gave 2 examples down below. For a residential dwelling unit that must comply with Section 504, that's the federally funded housing, 5% of the units must be on an accessible route and provide mobility amenities. 2% of the units must provide communication features. All other units located on an accessible path of travel must be adaptable units. So to go into that a little bit more, if there's an elevator that only goes to the first floor of a apartment building, only that first floor has to have adaptable units or the 5% and 2% of accessible units. Any floor above that is not required to be accessible or adaptable. And then for the second situation, for a Section 8 housing, a private landlord who accepts a Section 8 tenant-based vouchers in payment for rent is not a recipient of federal financial assistance. The tenant is. Therefore, the building would not be described as public housing, and that unit would not be required to be an accessible unit. And then I clarified further, this example assumes that the building was built to code at the time of construction.
What do you mean by communication features?
So that, I brought my handy notebook out because I had a feeling somebody would ask me that. So I'm just going to list a couple of things that are part of these communication features. So where a building fire alarm system is provided, the system wiring shall be extended to a point within the residential dwelling unit in the vicinity of the residential dwelling unit smoke detection system. Same thing would apply to smoke and carbon monoxide detection. Visible alarm appliances will also be placed inside of that unit.
Sorry. Could we say that safety features, 2% of the units have to have safety features which are accessible to, say, someone who's in a wheelchair? Is that the interpretation?
It's not so much for people who are in a wheelchair. It's more for people who struggle with communication-based disabilities. So people who are hard of hearing or are partially blind.
So there has to be accommodation to make sure that it would be understood what the unit is, what a fire alarm is, something, could be braille, could be
yes,
something
and
like that.
All of this is like written down in code. I'm paraphrasing to not get too into the nitty-gritty of the code yet. Yeah.
So the second part of that question 5. For Section 8 housing, a private landlord who accepts a Section 8 tenant-based voucher in payment for rent is not a recipient of federal financial assistance. The tenant is. I partially agree, but there is a landlord who, besides accepting Section 8, they also accepting grants, federal grants.
Yes. So if a landlord is accepting federal grants, that would
Right.
trigger Section 504.
Right.
But I did put that example in there just to clarify, because somebody is a Section 8 voucher, holder.
Yeah, for example, it's like a small private landlord who just like decide to have, one of the tenant with the Section 8. So it's kind of like not what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So question number 6, clarifying terminology. What is the legal definition of adaptable units? How do you differ from universal design or accessible units? So an adaptable unit is a dwelling unit designed and constructed so it can be easily modified to meet the needs of a person with a disability without requiring major structural changes. An accessible unit is a unit that already is fully configured with required accessibility features at the time that is occupied. These units are intended to be immediately usable by individuals with disabilities. In universal design, it doesn't have a legal standard. Rather, it's a philosophy that focuses on creating environments usable by the widest range of people possible. So just to clarify a little bit more, the accessible unit, those accessibility features that I'm discussing are appliances that have buttons and controls that are within the reach ranges of somebody who might be in a wheelchair, or a restroom that has grab bars, or showers that have seating in them, and features such as those.
For now, all those new projects, they had those adaptable units, right? They kind of like, that's the requirement that like every unit be adaptable. I mean, they're not specially using those ADA term anymore for affordable housing, like new project. I'm not talking.
These definitions are still being used in new construction as well. And then once again, just to clarify, as long as a unit is on an accessible path of travel, it's required to be adaptable. Units that are required to go up a flight of stairs where an elevator doesn't reach, those units are not required to be adaptable.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Even in new construction.
Thank you. I want to request, can we put this document hyperlinked on the agenda, Thomas, just to get this on the record?
If you don't mind, can I make some adjustments to this document and send it?
I'm okay with that. I just this is important community with clarification, so if you'd like to clear it up and get this information out, because we get asked this all the time. So this is saving you, this is preventative work here.
Yes.
And I'm going to get to this later, but a key concept I'd like our decision makers to be more familiar with, and I'd like to say enforce, is the readily achievable piece in the technical assistance manual of Title III of the ADA, that there's low cost, readily achievable things that I just want to make sure we're doing and getting the word out that those are being done, because those can be done. We can be solution based on those. Thank you.
That is correct. Thank you. Any more questions on this one? Okay. So question number 7, section 504 trigger. When must a unit be built to full section 504 standards? Does this trigger depend on federal funding? The answer is yes. Section 504 is applicable once federal funding is used on construction and or maintenance of the building. Section 8 vouchers being accepted would not trigger Section 504 in isolation. Any questions on that? Okay. So now going to parking. Question 8, parking disputes. Does the ADA regulate assigned parking disputes in a private residential garage? If not, which law takes precedence? So my response to this is no. The ADA is only applicable in the parking garage of a publicly, or I apologize, tripped over my words. The ADA is only applicable if the parking garage is publicly accessible. Contact an accessible housing expert for more information. So this is one of the questions where I'm going to be pleading my ignorance. Question 9. Oh.
Yeah, that's the most common question. And who is accessible housing expert whom we should contact if we have that question?
I currently do not have a specific example in mind. I can do more research and try to get that on this document before I send it to you.
Yeah, here's the thing. As best as of my knowledge, so I know how those issues with disabled individual and landlord handled within the city. So, and I paid attention that landlords consulting city if they had question, and what they're doing, they searching for ADA specialist. It means you, but and they kind of gathering answers which, like, you as an ADA specialist probably will not be able to give them. Mm-hmm. So because if that's the housing related issue, there is like housing expert who knows about accessibility more. That's who's supposed to can answer those questions. So that's what I'm saying, like, we need the name.
Yes, and there are
position if they are even like existing within the city, because tenants often mistaken too, because they think, oh, okay, I have disability, it means I have to contact ADA specialist or ADA lawyer. No. Mm-hmm. With the housing issue, neither ADA specialist, neither ADA lawyer will be not able to solve the climb between landlord and disabled tenant on a matter of parking and other housing issue. So that's important to understand for everybody. So,
yes. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. And I do know that there is a number of local nonprofits that do help with accessibility related cases. I've referred people to them in the past. I can talk with them and make sure that they do have people on staff that know the FHA as well.
I do have a follow-up on that too. I'm just curious if I were to pose this question to the Housing and Social Services Director, I believe that's the name of that new, she's going to come to an upcoming meeting. I'd like to pose the same question to her as well, or maybe you can, and see what she says. Because again, this is what I hear a lot. So I'd like to be able to clearly articulate, because it's often juxtaposed with the social service housing issue. So it's just at some point I want to grow towards the point where when someone asks me that, I could be like, boom, and we'll get there.
Yeah.
Commissioner Royale.
I'd like to say that there will be no boom because it's so conflicting how landlords applying the rules. They even added in some sort of DMV code to regulate private parking. It's like complete absurd what's going on with the city. And it's a complete absurd about how they reply to disabled tenants. So it's just kind of like, we not only have to kind of pass those questions and ask somebody to reply on them, we have to demand the changes with the city and like municipal court amendment. And by the way, I already kind of like filed it with one of the city council, some proposal about those amendments regarding parking, because there is two different parking, street parking and apartment parking. What the city doing, they applying rules which like regulate streets and how the vehicle operates on the streets. They apply this to private parking, garage, they deny disabled people accessible parking, like kind of like reasonable spot to use. I mean, it's just like unbelievable what's going on. So that's like, we have to do something about this.
Oh, thank you very much. Sorry. Yeah, now, are we going to be going through all these questions? Okay, because the reason why I was going to bring this up when I was supposed to be called to speak is to going before the ARB, Architectural Review Board, and all that. And I just want to interject for the, in the interest of time, and I was going to discuss this when I was called. I think it would be a great idea, and I can get with you, Chair Elliott, after the meeting, to bring in, did you prep all these questions? Okay, because the reason being is this actually goes right into when I attended the ARB meeting. I think the most effective thing to do as far as the questions that he's been answering is to bring in the associate planner. Because I was going to discuss this when I was called on, and his name is, it's either, I kind of had to really coax him to write down his email. It's either Jesse Brown or Jesse Braun. It's hard to read his handwriting, but his title is associate planner, because the main thing is that with these landlords and the grandfathering, that's understandable, but they are building, and I guess I'll just bring this up now and I can bring it up again. They are gutting CEQA, they're getting all kinds of exemptions, and they want to build these 23 multi-story buildings, and I've constantly, and said that's who we should be going after, not the little mom and pops that are already grandfathered in, because this is what happened. They have been doing what's called getting an exemption off-site affordable housing. And I have always constantly and consistently brought up at ARB and been kind of shut down and brought up here at these meetings to get some specifics on how many of these units have bathrooms that are accessible and parking is accessible. A lot of these buildings don't have any parking, or if I try to tie them down as to the levels of parking, how many spaces are, you get something like 124 units with, maybe 10 no parking, or maybe 50 parking spaces. So that's a huge problem, and that really kind of goes right into what we've been talking about. I mean, the bottom line is they just really don't want disabled people around at all. So I do want to bring this up now. When I went to the Architectural Review Board meeting, I think that these are questions, if we could bring in the associate planner and ask these very same questions to the associate planner. And I want to thank you for taking the time for this, but I think his hands are kind of tied. I don't really think I think these are questions we should ask the associate planner, because when I asked him these questions, as far as number of units and accessibility, he gave me the brush off. And then there's somebody named Stephanie Reich who kind of really let me have it after the meeting. Like 1514 7th Street, and you should see a picture of it. They want to build a 257-foot tall, 23-story glass building, and that's at 7th and Broadway. And it was going to be 124 units, 119 market rate units, and then it was going to be 5 on-site affordable units with no mention of ADA. Well, they got an exemption to where they don't have to have any 5 on-site affordable units. It's going to be a separate building with 15 off-site affordable units with no ADA requirements that have been mentioned, because I've really tried to get answers from them. And that way, the city of Santa Monica qualified. I finally figured out what's going on. The city of Santa Monica qualifies for the state bonus density plan with no requirement whatsoever that they have to be ADA units. And the other thing that I'd like to, I brought this up at the Housing Commission meeting, if they want to go ahead and do that, and then if we could prep a motion, we can move that there were no plans submitted for 1238 7th Street where the 15 off-site affordable units would be. And I think that we should really push and make it a requirement that this Ottinger Architects have to present this to ARB, Architectural Review Board, and the Planning Commission as a package, that 1514 7th Street and 1238 7th Street both plans be submitted for approval. Thankfully, ARB voted not to approve this plan. It's this huge monolith glass building with the rest of them are just 2 stories around it, which I think is kind of dangerous, but we won't get into that. But it says, above 2 levels of subterranean parking and 3 levels of podium parking. I tried to find out how many spaces there would be for the 2 levels of subterranean parking and would they be ADA accessible there, but there's no units that are required to be ADA accessible anyways, so that point's moot. And I, again, couldn't get an answer. So that's what I would like to see for us to bring in the associate planner and have him answer. These are the sorts of questions that he should finally have to answer.
Thank you. Well, yeah, well, that's someone we should contact. That's a good idea. Also, I want to give our ADA coordinator a chance to get through these a little bit more. So I'm going to just request we let him get through these and then we ask questions at the end. Is that okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
So for the next question, proximity requests. Does the ADA handle requests from disabled residents for parking spots closer to their units, or is this strictly an FHA reasonable accommodation issue? My response, no, the ADA is only applicable to public accommodation. And then contact an accessible housing expert for more information. Question 10, assigned accessible spaces. Under the FHA, FEHA, and the CBC, Title 24, can a designated blue marked accessible space be assigned to a specific resident as part of a reasonable accommodation, or must it remain available for general use by any placeholder? My response to this is it depends on the circumstances. Parking counts go into this a lot. And then contact an accessible housing expert for more information. This is going to go by a case-by-case basis. 11, the preemption question. In a residential parking scenario, how does the concept of preemption apply if the ADA Title 24 requires a space to remain open for public guest use, but the FHA, FEHA mandates that the same space be assigned to a specific resident as a reasonable accommodation? Which law takes precedence? My response to this is, once again, it's hard to respond to this without context. Typically, if there are requirements for accessible spaces for guest access, that is a separate issue from assigned parking spaces. Question number 12, signage and marking. If a blue marked accessible space is assigned to a specific individual, can it be repainted white to indicate it is reserved? My response to this is no, it's still required to be code compliant. So I am going to clarify this a little bit more because I know you're specifying CBC 11A 9.4, which is saying that signage is not required, and the signage does talk about the parking spaces, the lines of the parking space. But I do also want to mention that there are specifications in CBC 11A 9.8.5.4 and CBC 11A 9.8.6.5 that does have specifications on blue markings for the required clear space. So once again, all of these questions have nuance. So not every aspect of that parking space can be white. And then number 13, priority of rights. Does a resident's right to an assigned accessible spot under the FHA, FEHA generally take priority over the requirement to keep blue marked stalls open for public or general use? So I'm going to plead a little bit of ignorance and be a little humble that my question or my response to this might have been inaccurate. So I will say refer to a housing expert for this question. And then for number 14, maintaining the count. If a landlord assigns a resident a required blue space, are they required to convert a standard space into a new accessible space to maintain the building's legal minimum count of guest / public accessible stalls? My response to this: accessible parking spaces shall be provided at a minimum rate of 2% of the covered multifamily dwelling units. At least one space of each type of parking facility shall be made accessible even if the total number exceeds 2%. When assigned parking spaces are provided for a resident or a group of residents, at least 2% of the assigned parking spaces serving covered multifamily dwelling units shall be accessible in each type of parking facility. At least one space of each type of parking facility shall be made accessible even if the total number exceeds 2%. When assigned parking is provided, signage as required by parking signage shall not be required. When parking is provided for covered multifamily dwellings and is not assigned to a resident or a group of residents, at least 5% of the parking spaces shall be accessible and provide access to grade level entrances of covered multifamily dwellings and facilities that serve covered multifamily dwellings. Accessible parking spaces shall be provided with signage as required by the parking signage. Such signage shall not be blocked from view by a vehicle parked in that space. That's a very long-winded answer, but that is the direct quote from the code on that. Number 15, creating new spaces. Is a landlord required to be physically, or is my apologies. Is a landlord required to physically create a new accessible stall as a reasonable accommodation if all existing accessible stalls are already assigned or in use? When assigned parking is provided, designated accessible parking for the dwelling unit shall be provided on request of residents with disabilities on the same terms and with the full range of choices. For example, off-street parking, carport, or garage that are available for other residents. And then for the last question, CBC Title 24 definitions per Chapter 11. What is the specific definition of accessible parking, and what are the requirements for its location relative to the entrance? So I quoted the entire code section in this because
You don't have to.
Yeah,
read all,
I'm not
but
going to.
When you make your amendment, can you just like do a hyperlink or something?
Yeah, I'll
Unity, he put the whole thing on here. It's like multiple pages, so he was going to put it, but I don't want to.
Yeah, and I'll quote the exact code sections that I'm talking about for anything that I reference on this document. But in general, the exact definition that's provided by the codes is a space that complies with the accessibility provisions of this code, which is part of the reason why I put the entire definition on here. And then for location, there's nothing specific, but it does say as close as possible, essentially. That is what it boils down to. And then that is the last of these questions.
So, question 10. And also its answer to Kasmia Dodge as well regarding her friend. So, can a designated blue marked accessible space be assigned to a specific resident as a part of a reasonable accommodation? The answer is yes. Neither FHA, neither FEHA says anything about blue marked space cannot be assigned. ADA not saying anything that it cannot be assigned on a residential area. So California Building Code, I refer you to that chapter 11A. It's clearly saying that like it has special section describing assigned accessible parking space, how it's supposed to be handled, where it's supposed to be located, etc., etc. The best practice for any landlords who dealing with disabled tenants, first of all, reasonable accommodation request. If the disabled tenant doing reasonable accommodation request, the landlord should take it seriously and enter into interactive process. That interactive process is sufficient when landlord and tenant will reach some sort of agreement which will work both sides. It can be whatever. It can be just like more spacious parking spot, or it can be like double space, or it can be, I don't know, close to elevator, or that tenant will be okay, you know, like walk extra distance. It depends on a condition and medical records of, I mean, not medical records. It depends on a doctor letter, which should be provided during that interactive process by disabled individual. So that doctor letter should be emphasized the nexus between request and condition of the tenant. If the management decide that nexus demonstrated, so and the tenant need that blue marked space be assigned, like, and that's the closest space to entrance, no other alternative available, then yes, the handicap space in residential area can be absolutely assigned.
I do 90% agree with you. Once
There
again,
is specific
everything has exceptions.
Yes,
Yeah.
there is exceptions. There is some sort of like marking issue, repainting, or for example, if you assigning space and the total number of ADA spaces now decrease, you have to create new one.
Exactly.
There is a lot of version how you can accommodate disabled person, but for landlord, my message is you have to accommodate. If you enter interactive process and at the final had no decision, no accommodation, that's the bad faith.
That is absolutely
It's
correct.
not the interactive process. You just waste time and faking the requirement. That's it. So next one, 11. Here's this also. We're talking about preemption of law. And for example, if we're talking about housing, the FHA works first and then ADA requirement. I mean, to kind of like keep space open, etc., etc. You understand what I mean? Let me try to explain. Tenant, disabled tenant, paying for that residential unit in that building. It means that his usage of parking space should be prioritized. And it's like more important to accommodate tenant than like accommodate virtual guest. So it means that FHA, FEHA work first if we're talking about accommodation and if we're talking about that specific situation.
I hear what you're saying.
It's hard. I mean, I understand that clearly, but it's hard.
No, I understand what you're saying. And once again, it's not I'm not saying that you're wrong by any means. But like I said, there's so many caveats and exceptions to all of these rules that it is really, really hard to give a blanket statement such as that, because just because you have to follow the FHA doesn't mean you can disregard the ADA.
Oh, no.
Exactly. Yeah.
No,
So
but
if
you have to
guest
understand
spaces
it
are
depends
required,
of your finances.
yes.
Depends what grants you're taking, how your company operates. You have to apply first that specific rules or that rules, or probably both.
Both. It's
Yeah.
both. Yeah.
So the next one is 12.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like yes. The answer is yes. 13.
But there are still blue markings
Right.
that do have to be part of that space, which is why there's that finicky answer. Yeah.
That question was brought specifically because tenants often receiving a reply from city and from landlord, which is saying like no. And now we're talking, and you specifically mentioning some sort of exemption always exists. So, but the city and landlord saying no without any exemption, and that's completely wrong.
Well, there's the exemption for the stall itself, but there's not an
Yes.
exemption for the required clear space adjacent to the stall. So
Right.
effectively, there will still be blue in the space that you
Yes,
call.
I'm agree.
Yeah.
So, 13 priority of rights. Yeah.
Commissioner, I'm going to chime in for a second because I have a big question that I
Okay.
want to circle back. And if you look at our agenda, I did share policy updates that the web accessibility got pushed back a year, not just for the ADA, but for Section 504. And I appreciate you coming with this statement, but I do have a big concern about that. I mean, and it's not on the individual level. The individual, they've come here, they've been great partners. I've emailed them back and forth. They've been receptive. But I think there's a structural issue in that you need a human being who uses a screen reader on their team. There's no substitute for that. And that's going to be cheaper than subcontracting out, remediating all this stuff if you don't catch it on the front end. Like if, I know the ADA Pacific has job descriptions of like a digital accessibility specialist. And how this is going to save you money is they're going to remediate things on the front end. So if you have to contract it out, it's going to be less expensive. You're going to be proactive on this. So it's, it might be FTE, but it's going to save you. I'm familiar with some of the statements of work and the cost per item. It's very expensive, and so the best solution is to have someone in-house who can do it.
Yeah.
So that I would strongly recommend that. And I just want to make sure, because that's been a huge issue of our commission, is digital spaces being accessible so people can get information. And you need a human being in-house because we can't just subcontract it out. So I just wanted to make sure I got that in there.
Can I continue? I would like to appreciate, Blake, you willing to answer all those questions. I just let other guys probably ask some more questions. So, but we can talk after this because the answers you give it in the first version, they're supposed to be corrected a little bit.
Yeah. I'm going to do some finessing before I put it online.
Thank you.
And then I also want to just make it clear, if any of the commissioners do want to reach out to me, my email and phone number are public information. If you go look up ADA coordinator for City of Santa Monica, my information's on there. Feel free to reach out if you have any questions or want to discuss anything. We can set up a time one-on-one.
Do you have a business card?
Not on me, but I can run up to my desk, grab some, and then come back down after I'm finished here.
Kind of going back to the website with the delay.
Yes.
When the team was here 6 months ago, perhaps, and they were talking about getting things, parts like the blue bus and everything coordinated. Has there been a clear plan put together for accessibility in terms of what they would want to put together or how they would categorize all these questions and digital questions? Is there a plan at this point to address them, or are they still cans kicked down the road a little bit further?
There is a plan. Since the last you spoke with our ISD team, I believe that was in December or January. I've been working with them with the presumption that the deadline would be happening in April. And when the announcement of the deadline extension came out, I believe that was 2 weeks before the initial deadline, we were already on track to get the process going. There's a lot of the legacy things, but all of that is in order to go. It will just take some time for us to do that migration.
My specific question would be the organization of information.
And I would say that would probably be a better question for ISD. I'm a little technologically naive.
Well, it's not a you had brought it up that this is still an ongoing process. The question is, the various data is put in all different areas. Is there a plan now to unify it? How is that? Has there been a progression of thought to your knowledge in terms of creating a more unified approach for those who would need such a support?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that. That's definitely more of an ISD than what I've been involved in. Yeah.
Do you know? I don't know if we talked about this before, but for the Big Blue Bus, there was like complaining for a disabilities complaint. There was an issue with complaining, like you had to like print out a form and then like fill it out by pen and then like scan it and then upload it. But then if you wanted to file a civil rights complaint, you could just like do an online form. Mm-hmm. And so I had like brought up, why don't we make, if you have a disabilities complaint, just make that an online form too? Mm-hmm. Like, can't we do that?
Yes. I don't know the specifics about the Big Blue Bus issue, but I can look into that.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Blake, I just want to thank you for coming and having difficult conversations with us. That's good stuff. Yeah, that's a step forward. So thank you.
Thank you. I'm actually not done though.
Okay.
Unfortunately, you guys are stuck with me a little longer.
Okay.
So the last issue that I do want to speak with you guys on, something that I've discussed with this commission before, that facility and public right-of-way accessibility assessment CIP, that is going to be going to council as part of the fiscal year 2026-2028 biennial budget. And I just once again want to stress the importance of getting this funded. I pretty much have covered all of the issues with this commission before, and I just want to highlight right now, my office is a team of one. I have no budget allocated towards ADA barrier removal specific projects. I have to coordinate with different departments to try to get these projects prioritized. Having this assessment done will give us the framework to be able to have projects planned out well in advance instead of just having to react when public makes complaints for these issues. And I have a whole list of things, but I don't want to get too into it right now. It is already pretty late. I've taken up a lot of your time. I can send this to you, and I really hope that this commission can advocate for this CIP with City Council.
And can you please let us know when it's agendized, or when you have a sense of the date of when it's going to be agendized?
Yes, I will include that in the email that I sent to you along with this.
Thomas, administratively, are we allowed to follow up via email on that Big Blue Bus issue? Because I know it was brought up like a long time ago, so I just kind of wanted to like, are we like, just like in terms of just keeping an eye on it? Are we allowed to just do like a, just to follow up and say, hey?
We as in
Or
you?
is it-
We as in you, or we as in
Yeah,
the
like
commission?
me,
Yes.
am I allowed to say, am I allowed to do that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
As a commissioner, you can do that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so this is a really good conversation. Thank you for being generous with your time. We have some follow-ups. Keep us posted on when it's going to be agendized. Please forward the importance of our insights around digital accessibility to ISD. And yeah, let's keep in touch. You're always welcome back, and we want to keep our relationship going and being solving problems.
Yes.
And
no.
putting information out there so we don't get asked over and over, that proactive approach. And I think today was good in having these tough conversations, getting frequently asked question documentation on the record so we can actually work on solving it instead of just answering these questions over and over. So thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
And I will come back down with my business card for all of you
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you.
so much.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to move on to 3C1. Just want to get a report back. Thank you, Commissioners Adeyemi and Gordon. Just a quick, brief synopsis of the Acceptance of Mental Health Month proclamation by Commissioners Adeyemi and Gordon at yesterday's May 12th City Council meeting. Commissioner Adeyemi.
Thank you, Commission, for enabling us to go for this mental health commemoration yearly. This is my second year with the Commissioner, Nancy Gordon, for going to this event. Actually, it seemed like a very long time ago, but it was just yesterday. I was sitting right there in that front seat. And thank you, Mr. Philbin. He was here to get us going before the event. And this whole hall was filled with people. Actually, we had tons of people in here from right here to the back, in the lobby, downstairs to the street. The camera was here. And I don't know what other, and I think it was the airport hearing that was going on. Because I live near the airport myself, I happened to almost get caught in the whole condominium because this place was just so full to the brim. And for all the things that I wanted to say about the mental health, I just couldn't get a word out because it was just too many people lined up. But we are very excited to be here, and we put in our 2 cents. And the mayor was very happy to see us receive this award that we show up at all. And I think the council appreciate that. And we appreciate this commission for letting us go there as well.
Commissioner Gordon.
Yeah, what happened is Iris Chang, who met with us last year, it's been a whole year, I can't believe it, we weren't able to speak because there were the mental health students at Samo High along with another group. So she decided to have one of the three, the Samo High students speak very briefly. So because of what was going on with the airport, because I'd say there was probably at least over 100 people, and it was packed. So that's pretty much what went on with that. So as far as the certificate or the proclamation, I think that the other group has it or something.
Sweet. Thank you for representing us and being there. Thank you. Look forward to doing it next year. Think about who wants to go. Okay, I'm going to keep it moving to 3C2. Just some announcements and resources. I tried to organize them into a couple buckets. 3C2 is the policy updates, just big announcements. The web accessibility rule got delayed 1 year. It got delayed under ADA Title II, so the new deadline which we've talked about a lot here. It was supposed to happen April 24th. It got pushed back to April 26, 2027. So the city has less than a year. And then just last Friday, Section 504, which we've talked about, also had a deadline for web accessibility, and that got pushed back a year. So, a lot of disability organizations are disappointed, but we'll keep moving forward. And then just hyperlinks to the exact extension. 3C3, just wanted to give a plug for Global Accessibility Awareness Day. It's next Thursday. It's always the third Thursday of the month. Shout out to Joe Devon, who has presented to our commission and is one of the founders and just a pioneer and innovator and making stuff happen in the digital accessibility space. And there's going to be a lot of announcements about digital accessibility, AI accessibility on that date. There tends to be a ton of really exciting announcements. So I'm sure I'll report back on some of those next month. And similarly, there's a great article in Forbes magazine featuring Joe Devon. And he talks about how we're at a real important moment with AI and accessibility. And I'll just briefly go that a lot more things are being built with the help of large language models. It's called kind of vibe coding, or you use a large language model to help you code. But these large language models, the code they output is not accessible. So if more and more stuff is being developed in this way using models that output inaccessible code, that can be a problem. Also an opportunity. If these large language models start outputting accessible code, a lot more stuff. So we're kind of at this crossroads, and we've talked about the tool Joe Devon created where it's a scoreboard of here's the large language model, here's how good it outputs accessible code, and he's made an impact. He gives an example as models that, since he put out his leaderboard, have started outputting more accessible code. So I hope this trend continues, that the big developers, the Apples, the Googles, the Microsofts, the OpenAIs, the other models are baking in accessibility. So yeah, it's an interesting article and pertinent, and thanks Joe Devon for all the work. 3C4 and 5 are just kind of two buckets related to mental health. So I wanted to give a plug. There's a lot of May is Mental Health Awareness Month events going on. Take Action LA is an effort by the LA County Department of Mental Health. There's an event tomorrow at Santa Monica College, and I believe one more later in the month, but this link is the entire list of events across the county. They're free, so check those out. There's a couple in Santa Monica and in this service area. And then also recently, the city of Santa Monica on their website shared a bunch of events and resources for the city and did a good job, I believe. So check those out. And then 3C5, I just tried to curate mental health digital resources from some, and again, all this stuff is free. There's free apps, websites with information, all sorts of stuff. Just kind of, I want to highlight Bright Life Kids and the Saluna app. Those are free digital apps with support. And I also want to highlight, there's the 988 link, but this is specifically for people who are deaf or hard of hearing. There's a chat option and a video phone option. There's often information shared about this, but I wanted to point out this resource. It doesn't get as much love. So, and then I just have hyperlinks to other good free resources in one place. I'm not going to go into all of them, but again, first bucket events, second bucket digital resources. So check those out, community, and they're hyperlinked. Okay. I'm going to move on to item 6, public input on remaining agenda items. Sorry, did I skip that? My apologies. My apologies. Item 5, consent calendar. Take a second to review the meeting minutes for April if you haven't already, and if someone is ready, please make a motion for approval or to suggest edits.
Like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Or, and I have a second from Mariami. And a voice vote. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. Okay, thanks for keeping me honest. Number 6, public input on remaining agenda items. Do we have any public input on the remaining agenda items?
We do not.
We do not? Okay. Number 9, staff administrative items. 9A, mode team response to commission questions from April 2026. And commissioners, it's in your packet. They followed up on some of our questions in writing, and I want to give them a shout out because we love this. I want to see this more. Thank you. On the record, thank you, Mode Team. Oh.
Experience.
Yeah. We'll see if I get my money back. So I think it's just the item here is just to review this. Yeah, but I really appreciate the respect to answer these things robustly in writing. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to move to item 14, Disability Commission member discussion items. 14A, discussion on the May 12th City Council discussion on alignment of Disabilities Commission membership to 7 members after June 30th, 2027. And commissioners, there's a printout related to this item. And Thomas, do you want to lead this one off with some context?
Sounds good. So back in January, a boards and commissions comprehensive review went to council to discuss upcoming changes that staff suggested council consider. Council instructed staff to come back at last night's meeting with a revised ordinance, just implementing public feedback, implementing their feedback from the meeting in January. And so last evening, council heard additional public input, adopted the proposed changes to the boards and commissions resolution, and they approved the ordinance at the first reading. So that's pretty standard. There are 2 readings. The first happened last night, and then the second reading of this ordinance is happening May 26th. So that, it boils down to, that's when really things will become official. If they vote on May 26th to implement these changes, those changes will go into effect 30 days after their vote. So that really means at the end of June, should things move along as expected, that's when these changes will take place. The changes for the Disabilities Commission involve bringing the number of seats from 11 to 9 initially, 11 to 9 initially at the end of June 2026, and then to 7 at the end of June 2027. So that's where we're at.
And how many current commissioners do we have? How many terms are up?
That's a great question. So we have 11, so the body is 11 members officially, of which there are 9 current members. So 11 seats, there are 9 current members. 2 are terming out, or scheduled to term out at the end of June. One of those seats is yours, Mr. Rackfeld. The other is Commissioner Clark's. Now, city clerk's office is going to be delivering some more specifics about what that means in terms of, if you do the math, there are 2 folks terming out, and we still will need 9 seats. So I think one of the avenues is, and I'll let them speak for themselves and get back to you on that. I don't want to put words in their mouth, but is there any interest for those terming out to continue their terms if they would like, given the new changes happening? The questions are, will there be 2 additional seats, 2 additional members appointed if you both do term out and you're not interested in serving a 1-year interim term? These are questions that need to be answered in the coming weeks, but that's kind of all of the information that I have right now.
Yeah. Go ahead, Commissioner Gordon. I'll go after you.
Yeah, I want to know why they're doing this, because it's not like we're paid. I mean, why are they? And they're really chopping up the Housing Commission and social. Why are they doing this?
Well, I can't speak on behalf of the city about why they're doing that. It's all. This is a council discussion that was, I believe, over an hour and a half last night, and for a while in January. So I won't speak on the whys, but that's where I'll leave it.
And I'd just be curious, I have a few thoughts about it, but like, for instance, if there's 2 empty seats, would they be 4-year terms, and then there's ones expiring in a year, and then the ones appointed would be 3 years? Like, just the logistics, but I think we'll get more guidance on that.
We should get more guidance, but there have been scenarios where there's a partial term appointments. I believe Commissioner Clark is one of those seats that was filled for a partial term. So there are opportunities for that to happen, but I don't want to speak on behalf of the city clerk.
But I do want to, I watched the YouTube and I saw the staff report, and I do want to highlight, and this was a question from the mayor, is like, did you collaborate with the Disabilities Commission on this 11-7, or did you impose it? And I might be wordsmithing it a little bit. So just want to clarify it. They just told us, they told us there was no, so that's part of the process I'm not happy with, just that, they could, so it's just like, this is what's happening. No dialectic. So we may have came to the same outcome through a discussion. I don't know. There's a lot of us here, but so just want to comment on that process. And there was, and I want to clarify, there was a comment. I think one advantage would be some around quorum, and I'm wordsmithing it, but that's the reason, and I want to have this on the record. Every time we have not had a quorum in my term was because we had an unfilled seat with an applicant ready to be appointed. Every time. And we've put this in our staff report. So I just want that on the record. If we would have had all our seats filled to 11, we would have always had a quorum and the process. So I just want that on the record. But I will say I am glad that whatever happens May 26th, we will move forward. This commission will continue to do great work, whether it's 7, 9, 11, whatever it is. And we will hopefully improve these processes that didn't go perfect this round. So I'll just leave it at that. Commissioner Clark.
Is it being discussed on the 26th? And then was it discussed last night? Like, is there I know the meetings go long. Is there a YouTube time maybe I could go to watch it, just so that if I go and make public comment on the 26th, I'm not repeating things that were already said on the 12th or something?
Absolutely. I'm happy to send around to everyone the time-stamped YouTube video for viewing of the conversation that happened last night.
And so is the 26th is that more like a formality, or is it like a fresh, how is the 26th different from the 12th?
That's a great question. That's from my understanding, officially there's a first reading of the ordinance that takes into account public comment and previous discussions. And then the second reading, to use your word, is more, to my assumption, or to my thinking, more of a formality to actually enact the change.
Oh, okay.
But as is every item on a council agenda, you're welcome to submit public comment, and they do take that into consideration.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I just want to say for the record that they're chopping the Housing Commission down to virtually nothing. I mean, only 2 members, and they're combining that with the Social Service Commission. And I know it's pretty coincidental. It's when the Housing Commission started doing some really heavy-duty questions and submitting proposals about the gutting of CEQA and the number of affordable units and off-site affordable housing, is when the council, they had some people showing up from the city to the Housing Commission. And then shortly thereafter, when the Housing Commission really started giving them, like when I asked questions at ARB or with what's going on with these buildings, these structures, is when they then all of a sudden, I want to say for the record, just unilaterally and arbitrarily, and I think capriciously, is when they refused to renew somebody's half-term, Barosco, I believe her name was, vice chair. And I did get some pushback from a member of City Council when I inquired about that. And then, so it was really when we were talking about the gutting of CEQA and the safety and ADA units, it was when all of a sudden, then they started chopping down the Housing Commission and want to merge that with social services. And I don't think I've ever been to one of their meetings. I don't think they ever posted it. So I just want to say that for the record.
Thomas, it was like second hour of the meeting when they start discussing about decreasing commissions. So, and also probably we can invite somebody from the city council office to explain their vision of commissions instead of like asking question like from Thomas and expecting answers. So maybe they can explain what their vision, so why they decreasing, what they expecting from us. So they promised to visit us long time ago.
Well, when Chair Elliott and I actually showed up to a city council meeting, I don't remember what that date was, I did request, it would be nice if you guys could show up. And they shined us. Now, much credit to the new city manager, Oliver Shee. He actually appeared at our meeting, and he has been, very, very congenial and very respectful. So it seems like he actually is very hands-on, like he really cares. We could do that again. You know, I really think that, I guess, when I do my presentation, I'll just bring up who we should have.
Can I,
Go for it. Go.
I would like to, can I? Yeah, I did want to say that way back when the city first started changing how it related to the commissions, my impression was absolutely they just wanted to control everything. The first thing they did was come to the Disability Commission and say, you no longer can choose your disability commissioners. We are going to select the disability commissions for you, and they will send them to you. Before, all the commissioners had to come and talk to all the applicants. And we interviewed them and asked them questions, and they gave us a little spiel, and then we voted. So we chose who came. So from that moment on, this city has relentlessly tried to just wipe out the commissions by putting us all together like they did, which could never work with the Disability Commission and even the other commissions. It just makes it very difficult. They're not saying what they want to do because they don't want to say. That whatever or even if they know what they are doing, which I doubt, they don't want to say it. So that's what's happening. And we don't know. So it's very, very annoying. I can understand Commissioner Gordon being very upset, because it's just wiping out our influence and we have no more say. So that's basically what the city want to do. I know it's negative, but that's the way it is.
Commissioner Clark.
I thought, what was I didn't, the staff report, why take away the requirement for the public meeting? I thought that was like really important to have public input on what's important to Santa Monicans for the disabilities.
I believe we still are allowed to whenever we want. It's just no longer a requirement, but do you have any more insights around that, Thomas?
No, that's exactly what I recollect too, that the commission can have a public hearing at any meeting, and any commission, even, aside from the Disabilities Commission, can have that. So it does not need to be a legal requirement that it happens once a year. It can happen at any month, and it's the only commission where it's stated that that is a law, I believe, and so they put that in to streamline it with other commissions.
Do you have another comment?
Yeah, I just want to be like on the record as a commissioner that I believe that for this disabilities commission, like for people that have disabilities, that there's a reason that it should be a legal requirement for people with disabilities to make it a legal requirement to have this commission listen to people in Santa Monica with disabilities, and that it should be a legal requirement of this commission to listen to people with disabilities, and that it has been a shortfall of the commission, and that we should follow through and have that for the people in Santa Monica. And I'm willing to make it happen if I have the ability to be on the commission for this interim year. But I think we should do our very best to have people here and hear from people in the city, and that this commission had a legal requirement and that it was the only one. I can see why. I can understand why. That's all.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about just the short term in our ad hoc reports about the next one. We are going to have one, and I agree. Commissioner Royale?
I'm not understand. Nobody prevents actually people to show up and speak here to our commission, which is, as we spoke before, which is like not advertised properly, and a lot of people just don't know that we exist. So, and I see lots of people, for example, people with disability who has like housing issue, they showing up at the housing commission instead of addressing something with us. So it means it's just like not everybody informed about our operation. That's it. So, but people with disability are welcome to show up at the meeting and, make complaints. So.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know what else anybody can do, but it is important to do it. That awareness is very important. We need to create awareness. I mean, we go out the door now and we see disabled people everywhere. Don't these people need help? We know that they need help. We need to hear from them. It is the only way that we can get to the council to tell them this is what we hear from the people out there. But if you don't create awareness, they don't know we exist, and they're not here. And why are we here? You see, that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Commissioner Rosario?
A lot of people can't come if they have special needs, especially at this time of the day. So they can't come at this time of the day. So, you know, they should be allowed to attend virtually, and there's some accommodations need to be made, not like swiping us out. Thank you.
Thank you, commissioners. So we'll have clarity on this in in a month, and in the meantime, if you're compelled to make a comment or participate at the May 27th second reading, I suggest you do. And I'm glad we got some key thoughts on the record, on recording, very important ones. Would you?
I would like to point out that the original, why we had so many members, it was mandated that so many had to be disabled on the commission. I'm the only one in a wheelchair. You know, it's like they're out there, they're everywhere. Why aren't they here? They don't even know we're here. Nobody knows we're here. The city really does not only want to gut us, they want to gut all the commissions. I thought the commissions were great, what they used to do. It was wonderful, just marvelous. I loved it. The Disability Commission did so much, had so much influence, did so many actions. And I mean, we're barely on life support. We're not even on life support. We're lucky. I consider it lucky that we're even existing, that we're even here from what the city really wanted to do. So it's depressing seeing what we had before and seeing what's available now. And if we don't, somehow we have to make it, I don't know, make another proclamation. All of us get them together, make a proclamation, something that gets their attention, that it has to be addressed, the needs of the disabled. There's so many disabled people from, you know, it must be at least 25%. And I know at least just recently, within 2 weeks, the New York Times on the front page had a wonderful article supporting disabled people and explaining how it was needed, and the government wasn't doing anything. And so there is some awareness, but I've always been wanting to look to the whole global, from us, you know, really being able to get our what we need from the city, and then from there going somewhere. But we can't really do anything without the city behind us. It's just, we can try, keep us going. That's why I'm sticking with it so long. Because, I mean, it's really difficult for me to get here. Very difficult. I have to push myself. I hate going home alone in the dark, having to wait for the bus. I'm very vulnerable. There's nobody there to protect me. And yet there's no virtual, I can't access the meeting. It's really ridiculous and horrible and disgusting. And I hate to be so emotional about it, but that's the way it is.
Thank you, Commissioner. It's Commissioner Royale. I'm going to go, and then Commissioner Gordon. Commissioner Royale.
I understand the frustration, and first of all, I would like to kind of like ask, we know why it's like that evening time set up for our commission, why it cannot be moved like to earlier a little bit, like 5, no? It's not up to us to ask the city to kind of like make the time more comfortable, no?
I would say I'm not concerned about the time per se. I mean, if it was 5 o'clock, I wouldn't be able to do it.
I'm just asking because it's true that it's hard for lots of people to kind of show up here.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. Another thing is we don't have any virtual options. That's a second. And I also like to correct a little bit Kosmedaj, that people with disability definition, it's like very wide definition, and sometimes people might not use wheelchair, but they do have serious disability. So please do not judge if people like on wheelchair or not, and make conclusion that they don't have any disability. I believe how many people with disability we have right now? Like 6 in that commission? Less?
I can't give you a number.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
so I mean, I'm just kind of like saying that it's like not right to judge by how the people look and make conclusion that they don't have any sort of disability. Thank you.
And I mean, having a hybrid option, we had it during the pandemic. I do echo Commissioner Kosme-Adaj. We haven't had someone who is blind. I mean, there's so much diversity within the community, and the more representation from different types of disabilities, the better. But and a barrier, like I've reached out to people who want to talk to our commission, and because there is not a virtual option, they can't participate. So part of it's been hard for me to outreach as the chair to bring people I know in the community to participate because they can't just Zoom in. They can't just join a Teams call like they can in other avenues. So that's been frustrating for me because I've had some great people who want to participate and just share resources, insights, research, digital resources. But they, to get here at 6:30, like I was so pleased that Cal Able got here or the great speakers we have because it is tough. But that's why we had the ad hoc on creating a virtual option. We keep nonstop, and I think starting July 1, we're going to get closer to that, and we have commissioners participating. So we are making progress. We do have a ways to go, but I think having hybrid is critical. It's an access need. It's a requirement. So I want to remain hopeful that we're going to get there, and that'll help us do the great work. But yeah, I'll pass it to Gordon and then Rael.
I just want to, there's somebody by the name of Jerry Rubin, and he's been around, I think it's Jerry Rubin. Yeah, I think he's been around forever. And he's the one, he and his wife had created the Disability Commission. And so I want to commend Chair Elliott. When we showed up, I think it made a huge difference because he shows up to all these meetings. And then I saw him again at the, I guess another meeting, I can't keep track of it. And he said, I'm glad they decided to keep you standalone. So I think they listened to you when you said, here we go again. So at least we still have a presence.
Commissioner Royale, then Adiemi.
I would like to mention that we actually have also the option to just like email any sort of issue from people. So it's kind of like it's not necessary that they have to show up or participate in a Zoom meeting or anything. So they can submit there's complaint. So.
Yes, and as commissioners and as Santa Monica residents, you have that right as well. Just there's constraints about speaking on behalf of the commission if we haven't spoke about it here. Commissioner Adiemi.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I don't know whether first-hand information from the disabled individual is what is required, or whether we as commissioner going out there hearing from the community, the disabled community, is an information that we can forward to this commission, whether that will help, because not every disabled person can make it here or make it on Zoom. We are talking about people who are homeless, who don't even have a phone. They don't have email. They don't have an address. So how can you get such an individual to link from home or from his residence? So we talk to these individuals. I go around quite a bit, and I meet a lot of disabled people. And I don't know whether the information they're giving me is something that I can forward to help this commission to help them. That's something that I'd like to know.
Yeah, I'm hearing
A question. Is there a list? I mean, I suppose there's not, of disabled people because, I get emails from groups all the time who are supporting people. I mean, couldn't the Disability Commission have published something that says, this is going on, whatever. We could do the same thing and email it they just send it to, they have lists, like I get them from from our stuff for one, they just send them out to whoever, anybody's interested in disability issues. They could sign up and get notices. And the other thing is I thought maybe the city had a good idea before the pandemic. They had all the commissioners of us, and there were 12 of us, half of us had to be disabled in some way. And they just said that we could have all the people on the commission have some sort of expertise and have it available for the people. Like we had lawyer, TJ was on it. And he said it was okay. He could do the legal stuff. He couldn't give legal advice, but he could say where, anybody that had legal issues where they needed to go. And like for me, of course, I know wheelchairs. I could advise on that. Somebody else on public health, somebody else on whatever. That we could actually be directly involved with the community. And the city had that idea. It wasn't us that came up with it. And nothing ever happened with it because, the pandemic came and it never went anywhere. And we don't even have a budget. We can't advertise that we're having a meeting anyway, because we'd have to go to the city council and ask permission to get $5 to announce it. It's all tangled up with that. So I don't know what we can do. We've all got imagination. We can all figure out ways to get around how the city is not helping us to help the disabled, basically.
We do have a mailing list where you can say, I'm interested in the Disabilities Commission, and you sign up and you'll get copies of when our agenda is posted. Maybe that's an opportunity. I've tried to use space in our agenda to get important information. That's been one of my workarounds as chair is I've gotten frustrated with not having a space on the website, which I asked for. I got a template, I filled it out, but never got direct access for a space, a digital space on our website. I've hit a wall, and I have another year to keep on hammering on that, because I think we should have a space on our city, a city digital space where we share information that with a clear process on how to get it up there. But in the meantime, I try and use space on our agenda, because as an advisory board, our role is to give helpful information to the community. This is the best way I know how, until we get a website or an AI bot or an AI model or whatever way, every mechanism to get information to the community and to our staff and our city council member. The best I can do now is make it one click away on our agenda, but we're going to keep working. That's going to be part of our plan, and our public hearing is part of our plan last year. I'm hearing marketing. We used to do more events in the community, as Cosme Dodge can probably speak more to. We used to have budget to do things, the CSUN event, events at the library. We've gotten clarity on what the process for asking for money is in writing, which is a step forward. Like all this, I think we're building like the bureaucracy of this back on. We're here, we're going to be here, we're going to have, if you're a commissioner, you can participate digitally. I'm hoping it gets more robust for participation virtually for the community, but we're putting this foundation forward. We've made a lot of progress, so I want to recognize that. We do have ways to go, but I'm hopeful we're going to continue to move in that direction. And I have another year to work on it. Commissioner Royale.
Generally speaking, the city cannot ignore neither Disability Commission, neither disabled residents. They're supposed to find a way to make prompt response every time, because otherwise it's like very bad, painting like very bad picture for the city. And it's frustrating that we have to kind of like push the wall to have a space on a website. So that's not supposed to, we have to knock in a door. That's what city is supposed to kind of like be first who kind of like will be creating that. So I don't know, I think I do have solution how to speed up, but I might need think about this little bit. So, but there is a way to kind of like push the city to start acting faster and in the interest of people with disability, which is like required by law, basically.
Adiemi and then Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think there's some coincidence of May being the Mental Health Awareness Month and this year being a year of election. And these two things collide. And in this season, you hear much about how the individual with power out there wants to do more for the mentally ill, for the homeless. I'll clean up this, I'll clean up that. All that is good narrative, but let's get it done in reality, because it has to be done, and it has to be seen to be done. It behoves us to begin to push this narrative that we're not just here for talks. We're here to help the people. For me personally, it has been my life for the last 40 years. It's not something that I came in here to serve 2 years. This is my life. I go out there and help people wherever I can with the kind of limited capacity that I had then. And I established a business doing that. So this is, I know a lot of disabled people. But for us to come here, talk, I'm powerless, and then getting a retribution for not doing anything about what is happening. I mean, come on. Does that make sense? So I think we should be more proactive in telling the council that this is what we want to see done. And we have to have a list of what we want to see done and then forward it to them. And I think this is the best way we can serve the community. I've lived in this community 40 years in the same address. So I think I know what I'm talking about.
Commissioner Clark.
Mr. Chair, are we still on 14A in our discussion right now?
Yes.
Okay, I propose, Mr. Chair, that we kind of coalesce and perhaps make like a written statement. I know we're not allowed to email each other outside of like tonight, but perhaps like prior to the May 26th meeting, like make a joint statement of our thoughts on 14A to City Council. If we all agree that the commission should remain at 14A at 11 members this evening, if we are unanimous in that thought, why wouldn't we say that in writing and put it forth for May 26th in a last-ditch effort to save it at 11 members? I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know the mechanisms of the May 26th and what happens if it's just a formality, or if they would consider our statement and say, I mean, my thought process is it encompasses, I think it encompasses people that have difficulty getting here, who are in wheelchairs and may not be able to make it, so for whatever reason, or people who take care of someone who has a disability, so it puts less pressure on their need to be here every single time. It can work in some ways. Having the extra seats can in some ways work as an accommodation. to people with disabilities. So I think that having the extra seats can, one, work as an accommodation to people with disabilities. So both in attendance and in a workload on an ad hoc basis for the committees. And that's what I would say. So that would be my 2 cents on a statement that we could put together through Thomas.
Thomas, to write something on behalf of the commission, would we have to make a motion under this item? Hypothetically, if I wanted to write a public comment on behalf of the commission, would we have to have the verbiage here and approve it, or could?
No, you could, if you wanted to create an ad hoc or subcommittee, you could do that and handle it with a smaller group over email that could take into account everybody opinion shared tonight, and then form that and then mail it around. But you would really have to kind of formalize it tonight, or Chair, you could write it and take into account the feedback you've heard tonight, and list your name on and on behalf of the Disabilities Commission. I think that would be the way to go about it. We couldn't really cobble together a letter over email between now and then.
That being said, I'm happy to write. So
not to give you more work.
So I want to make sure I'm clear on what our consensus is. It's
In the time, my 3 years at least, how many times have we had more than 9 people?
we've gotten to 10.
Right. So to say that it must be 11 doesn't actually, there's no valid support to say it has to be 11 because of X, Y, Z, if over the last 3 years it's been anywhere between 8 to 10, 8 to 9. So to say that, I mean, I think what was highlighted here are other structural issues in the commissions overall, which I don't know if can be addressed. So to go on record saying, well, we got to keep it to 11, then I would push back. Why? You haven't been 11. You've been functioning. So it has to be a deeper reason than just a number. Yep.
Commissioner Gordon?
I didn't understand. We're not allowed to email each other?
We can't, maybe you can clarify, we can't like have commission talking about stuff via email unless we have like an ad hoc committee. There's like, it's Brown Act rules or something?
Yeah, I mean, it's a not fun conversation to have, and it's a law from the 50s. But you basically have to have the meeting at the meeting. Yeah. And you have to make the deliberations publicly, and you have to arrive at a decision, especially if it's on behalf of a letter on behalf of commission members. It has to be out in the public air. So that's the reason for it. You can email individually, you can email members, but you can't make group decisions.
Oh, yeah.
This phase.
Oh, because I wanted to give him the associate. I guess I can give it to you.
Yeah, you can give me that, yeah.
So that you have that.
To clarify, all your emails still work, and you can still email each other, but having group emails with more commissioners than the quorum number is illegal under the Brown Act.
Oh.
I'm sorry. The limit to the numbers of discourse that can take place is about two people, maybe.
No, it's less than quorum. So
Than a quorum.
yes.
Yes.
6. Commissioner Royale?
My solidarity to Vice Chair. So that commission never been 11 members, to be honest, because either they was not appointed at all or other issue. So In the meantime, I'm agree to write a letter to support the setting of commission and probably kind of like ask to have 11 members and see how it all goes from there. So, I mean, I don't know what's going to work in this time, but we have to be kind of like waiting on like true facts and our expectation. So because I remember it was like 8 commissioners only.
There's 9.
Yeah, or 8. When I was kind of like appointed, it was like 8 or something. It was just like.
I mean, it turns over every year.
Right.
So there's always going to be, every July, there's going to be 3 open seats or so. What's been the issue is on those turnovers, they don't bump us up to 11, even though there's.
Right, yes.
So we're always behind, and then we've never, but when I started, we always had 11.
And also, it's like, it will be good if we have like experienced people going on, because it's very hard to be new and start from ground zero and not understand anything, how it's operate, and have like most members in the same level. That's kind of like very hard. So we have to kind of like think about like rotating and adding probably new, but have like most people who like had experience already.
Commissioner Adiemi?
Very quickly, because I think we've been here a while. You know, sometimes people say size matters, right? So if 7, if 9, if 11, the important thing to me is that something has to work.
Effective.
Okay, even if you're 7, it has to work. You have to make something work to benefit the community. It has to work. What good is 11 when nothing is achieved by it? Okay, so that's my take on it. So, but we have to be very proactive on why we are here and what we want to see the city done. It's the kind of thing. Sometimes I come here on a council meeting day. I just sit in the public as an individual. I can ask any question I want. What do you think about this, that? It's a big deal.
So I want to pose so am I writing something on behalf of the committee to ask to keep 11? Do we just want to see what happens and you act as individuals?
I would like to say yes, but we also have to mention that like everybody here is on a voluntary basis. We not get paid for that commission. So, and we can mention that to be more effective, wages have to be recognized and at least have some space on a website and, I don't know, like newspaper somewhere, like for people to acknowledge that we exist. So if city can help us with that, will be nice, because it's like to operate without being paid and budget at all. So it's like how much we can do. So to spread words or, you know, like updating and things. So.
No, I agree. But for the purpose of the May 26th meeting, we have to address, like, they're proposing 11 to 7 and removing the public hearing. So do you want me to say, no, we don't like the 11 to 7, keep it at 11 with 6 guaranteed disabilities? Or do you want to just act on your own behalf? We will continue to advocate for more outreach, more money, more publicity, but we have to be specific about feedback on this motion. Commissioner Clark?
I just think like one of the issues is that if you reduce it from 11 to 7 and then you keep the number of required people with disabilities the same, then you're really putting the pressure on people like Commissioner Cosmeo Dodge, and then you're not allowing the virtual appearances who has a hard time getting here, and then you're trying to meet the quorum. You see, like you have that quorum requirement of the minimum number of people here. So then like you're putting the pressure on people that might have a harder time getting here to get here to meet the quorum. Does that, if that's what I'm trying to say about that.
And we're losing two. The required disability would go from 6 to 4.
Right, so, yeah.
Commissioner Rockfeld?
Yeah, I would say that the fundamental issues are much larger than the number of people that are here. And I mean, I wouldn't oppose a letter, but I think it's a wasted effort and there are other things to focus on.
Commissioner Gordon?
I understand that. I think just as a show of unity, though, I think if you put it up to a motion, I mean, I know, you put it up to a vote or something, you say we want to keep it 11, just to kind of like throw it back at them. And then I'd also, if like we put it up to a vote now, as to whether or not you send something or not, if we could just vote on it now.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to write a letter on the behalf to say we want to keep it at 11. And do I have a second?
Second.
And then let's, I think we have to do an individual vote. So Commissioner Gordon?
Aye.
Commissioner Azaria? Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Adiyami? Commissioner Rockfeld?
Tom, do you need quorum for this to pass or?
We have quorum now.
Right, but you need, so quorums, so I'm abstaining.
Commissioner Royale?
I'm not sure.
You can abstain. And I'll say aye. So what are we at?
If I'm doing the math in my head, that's 3 abstentions and 5 abstentions because the 5, two are not present right now. So that motion
Does not pass?
does not pass.
Oh,
Okay. So we feel free, I still recommend commissioners make public comments. And if I'm able, I may go to the meeting and talk on behalf of myself.
the 26th?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we move on?
Yeah.
She wants to go.
Yeah, I'm going to keep this quick. 14B, I know you shared a lot. Commissioner Gordon, anything you want to add to 14BI, report from Housing Commission Planning?
Yeah. Well, first of all, what I want to do is there's been a lot of questions about the BMH housing. And I was asked by another commissioner, I want to pass this out to people because I made about 25 copies to everybody in the commission. That says if you have any questions about applying to BMH and the POD program, please join us for office hours at Virginia Park.
Okay, Thomas, I'll help you with that.
Oh, you're going to do all of them. There's 25 of them, so I don't know if people. Okay. If you have any questions about applying to the BMH or POD program, please join us for office hours at Virginia Park on Wednesday, April 15th from 4 to 6 p.m. Now, it did pass. That's back, But housing staff will be available to answer questions in English and Spanish at the VAP offices. Additional information can be found in the flyers below. So then you can, they do have that from time to time, but I think they're overhauling Thelma Terry or something. I've been to these workshops and So I'm going to it's usually at Thelma Terry. But anyways, the website's down here. So Commissioner Adiami had asked me about this, and so I just made these copies so that everybody has a copy. So that you've got the websites and you can find out where the next workshops are going to be. And then I want to talk about what's been going on with, I've gone to our Architectural Review Board. That's been very instructive and scary. But anyhow, I went there and it's confusing. There's somebody named Stephanie Reich who's like the person that she's an AIA LEED AP Design and Historic Preservation Planner, which is kind of amusing because they've been pushing through all this development. And what's even more alarming is I just want to say that at 1514 7th Street, they say it's multifamily residential mixed use, and their review of the design for a 23-story, 257-foot glass, literally a glass building, all glass, residential condominium project consisting of 124 units, 119 market rate units. They said 5 on-site affordable units, but that's a lie because then they were able to get an exemption to build 15 off-site affordable units at 1238 7th Street, but they didn't submit any plans in conjunction with the 1514 7th Street. So I have a feeling they're going to do a bait and switch and not have to build that. And so that's what I brought up at the Housing Commission. After I went to ARB, I went to the Housing Commission. I spoke to Chair Gordon. And I asked her if the Housing Commission could maybe send something that there would be a requirement that when they submit plans, whether it's through ARB or the Planning Commission, that they have to submit all their plans for 15 off-site affordable units in conjunction with that. That way it ties them down so that they can't go with this 257-foot monstrosity. I mean, you should see it. And see, now this associate planner, it's either Jesse, it's his handwriting, I can't really read it, but I'll get with you after the meeting and give it to you. He's the associate planner. So that's why I think the questions that Commissioner Royale has is that to have this associate planner, this Jesse Braun or Brown, show up and really have to be answerable for these questions, because every time I tried to ask him questions, this Stephanie Reich person got really mad at me, said, "You're not allowed to ask questions." And I said, "Well, it says it on the chit." And she goes, "Well, you can ask questions, but they're not ARB questions." So I'm just trying to tie him down. He was just really kind of I'm happy that he's trying to push. ARB did not vote to approve the plans yet, which is a good sign. But I guess what happens is he was really like dancing a little jig. He's saying that way it qualifies for the state bonus density. That's the remedy if we propose 1238 7th Street, but there's no plans. They submitted. And so I did still ask these questions again, what defines affordable, how much, and was told I'm not allowed to ask that. And basically, I was, after the meeting, this person, Stephanie Reich, kind of leaned over me and said, these are planning department questions. And I said, well, okay, but if I go to the planning department meeting, she says, well, the planning department determines other things. You're not allowed to ask these questions at the planning department meeting. She said, what you're asking is done behind closed doors. So basically, I think what we could crack through it is get this guy, and I'll give it to you, this associate planner, and make him come in and have to answer, for himself. If we could do that, that would be great by our next meeting. Because I've done all I can. I'll try to go to.
Share that information with me, and we'll see.
After the meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, 14B, 2 report from Santa Monica Website Quality Assurance Ad Hoc. No, nothing. Okay, I'm gonna keep it moving. 14B3, report from the annual public hearing ad hoc. I had actually, September, I don't want to do like a weird special meeting, so I'd like to propose doing it October, finalizing October regular meeting as our public hearing date. Are we okay with that?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So.
Some of us might not be here though, right?
Yeah, I think it really comes down to a special meeting in September. Your Thomas is out, September special meeting doesn't work for me either. So I'd like to just do it October during our regular time, because there's also some dependencies, so we need to lock in a date. And if we're gonna like try and do something special, I'd like to also plan how we do special stuff during our regular scheduled time.
Oh, no, I just meant for the ad hoc, because both Gerald and my term ends in June, and then planning for the.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll play it by ear. But, okay, so, we have a date for that, which is the second Wednesday in October, which is October 14th, and prerequisites for that is I will have a draft plan before that, and we'll figure out more in the next months. So October 14th, 6:30, we'll have an item on our agenda for the public hearing. Thanks everybody for getting us here. 14.4 and 14.5, new ad hocs liaisons. I'm just going to say let's hold that off. Think about it. It's always open. And again, we want someone in the newly formed commission post July 1. And I'm also going to say let's hold off on 14C because it's been a long night and we got a lot of good work. So I'm going to move to adjourn. Can I have a second? Aye. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Thomas.
Speaking.